Next is Mr. Sunil KC from Nepal. Floor is yours, Mr. Sunil.
Thank you, Chair Pardesiji. Good afternoon to everybody. At the outset, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Manohar Parrikar Institute for Defense Studies and Analyses for extending an invitation, and my compliments and congratulations to Ambassador Mr. Sujan Chinway, who is the Director General of the IDSA and also the T20 Chair. And glad to see you here in New Delhi, sir, after our visit in Kathmandu. And also thanks for hosting such an important event while the region has been witnessing several challenges from multiple dimensions. And I'm very much delighted to be here and share my thoughts before an informed gathering of the South Asia Conference, the flagship event of the Government of India to promote the regionalism, being hosted by MP-IDSA. And yesterday we saw all the sessions and speakers talked about regional integration, regional cooperations overall. And Ambassador Rajiv Bhatia observed that the South Asia region is moderately integrated. And also Ambassador Harshvardhan Singla found that we are 10 years behind in the regional integration program. Priorities of the G20 and South Asia region are well articulated in the 2 days deliberation. And South Asia region is vulnerable to the several issues, likewise climate change, energy issues, cross-border terrorism, and poor economic and social infrastructure. However, I found one issue that has been missing in the debate. That is, why is the regional integration imperative? Let me say a few words. Because the member countries face common challenges like the effects of climate change, pandemics, energy dependency, economic crisis, etc. In that case, no country, how big that could be, address these challenges without the support and cooperation from other small countries. And most importantly, many of these issues have cross-border implications, if we realize particularly. And BBIN, you know that Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, and Nepal are sub-regional group which was formed and being architected by India. And now all these three nations, BIMSTEC regions, now all three nations of the sub-region except Bhutan are facing energy crisis in today's world. The crisis will undoubtedly depend if the generation of green energy today fails to manage power generation, transmission, and distribution, both for industrial and domestic use. We all know that hydropower is the best source of energy in today's world, followed by solar power, that any other fossil fuel-based energy from both cost effectiveness and environmental safety. Adding one more jingle, that is Tamosomaya Jyotirgamaya. Therefore, green energy would play a key role in establishing a resilient South Asia, if I believe, because I'm also into the energy ventures. So we believe that, green energy could be one of the finest commodity to integrate the to our region. That is what we believe. So why to go for regional integration? The region needs immediate action for regional integration because the pressing issues are discussed earlier. And how to go for the regional integration, and who will take the initiatives? That's the question here. So to go for a robust regional integration, the region first needs a forum. And there are successful examples like the EU and the ASEAN, which even discussed in yesterday's deliberation. Interestingly, currently in South Asia, we have SARC and other forums which are not doing well. Even SAR is defunct and the BBIN is stuck, and BIMSTEC is not progressing as we expected. And we had a big hope from the BIMSTEC. In this scenario, how would we achieve regional integration? Can bilateralism become a way forward to regionalism? That is another question. Or do you need another new forum for this? That is also another question. I think these questions also were asked in the concept note, if I am correct. Therefore, we should focus on some low-hanging fruits uh, as a confidence building measures. And then Pardesiji and one of my colleague from Bangladesh were talking about the mistrust. What I believe is that, like, most of the South Asian countries have been facing the trade deficit with India. And I would particularly say that, mostly in between of Nepal, or, sometime we face that is the trust deficit, and how we can, make it like, trust sufficient. That is another question, because I think sometimes we face most of the trust, deficit, like the trade deficit. So therefore, we should focus on, low-hanging fruits like BBIN could be like sub-regional economic, like energy integration, by having new transmission lines between India and Bangladesh, for facilitating power trade between Nepal and India and Bangladesh as well as Bhutan. In August 2022, both Nepal and Bangladesh have requested India to facilitate Nepal Bangladesh power trade cooperation by allowing Nepal to export around 40 to 50 megawatt of electricity to Bangladesh by using the existing transmission lines between India and Bangladesh. And following are the current India-Bangladesh transmission lines. One is Bahrampur, India, that connects to Beher Bangladesh, that is 400 kV lines, along with 1000 megawatt, back-to-back terminal at Beher. And another is Suraj Maninagar, Tripura in India, to Komilla in Bangladesh, that is another 400 kV transmission line. And upcoming is Katihar, India to Parbatipur, Bangladesh, and Borongnagar, India, that is 765 kV double circuit, which is the proposed transmission line. It is a low-hanging, fruits, because the energy trade is already happening bilaterally in the region. If we talk like when PM Sarvado Deva was in India in the month of April 2022, at that time India had allowed Nepal to export 364 megawatt of power, and over the last 5-6 months, we earned around 7 billion INR as a revenue, and which has helped us to balance the payment for the petroleum products which we have been importing singly from India. I think that's the one good beginning among the, the bilateral power trade. But we had the surplus of 700 megawatt, and we were asking India to allow 452 megawatt. If that could have happened, then we would have made around 11 billion INR. That would have helped to boost our economic growth and other energy that got wasted in Nepal. And during the winter season time, we import electricity from India around 300 megawatt, which got started recently. And if you talk about the data, by next year, we'll be having the surplus of another 1200 megawatt. And if we able to supply that power to India, we'll be making around more than 22 billion INR. If some portion of the power goes to Bangladesh, we'll be making more amount of money due to the unit price, because we are selling to India in around 7, and in Bangladesh there is around 9 rupees. So there is a quite good differences, and we have been eyeing the Bangladesh as a good market for our power. And even if you see in the first week of January, Bangladeshi energy minister was in Delhi, and he talked, very straightly that he wanted India's visible energy cooperation for for Nepal, Bangladesh power trade, and that is what they are aiming to invest for 683 megawatt Sunkosi third project. And government of Nepal has already given the environmental assessment, and I think the government of Bangladesh is doing the assess. And if this 40 to 50 megawatt power trade happens between the two countries, I think it will prove the it will prove one of the game-changing examples of the sub-regional or regional economic integration. And I hope that very soon it should happen, because it has been 4 months that government of Nepal and Bangladesh are requested to India's NTPC. And by 2025, we don't even need to import electricity from India in the winter season. So by 2025, we'll be like, having the good surplus. And I think, currently government of India has made quite a good number of investment for, it's for the Satluj investment, like 3 projects around 20-25 megawatt. And NHPC recently taken over the license for 750 and another around 450 megawatt projects, and India is aiming for 10,000 megawatt by 2025-30. I think that will be a good beginning, and I think that power will go to the region, and that will help Nepal, to become the net energy exporter. That is what we believe. And also, Nepal needs to sell surplus energy to the new markets like Bangladesh is there, and Myanmar, and possibly to Sri Lanka by 2030, if the digital infrastructure could be created. Let us hope for that. And Bangladesh needs energy for its industries as well. And both India and Bangladesh want to increase the share of renewable energy substantially in the upcoming years. The Indian government has set an ambition plan to generate 500 gigawatt from non-fossil energy-based sources by 2030, meeting 50% of energy requirements from renewables. Likewise, Bangladesh wants to increase the share of renewable energy in the country's power mix to around 40% by 2050, from less than 3% now. Water-rich Nepal could help both countries achieve their dreams, according to our officials. And Bangladesh has hence been exploring Nepal's hydropower to meet its renewable energy, and the few of the private sectors has already got the permission to invest in Nepal, and they have already visited some of these sites. And I think the investment would be around 1 billion. So that is another market. And so the beginning would be the power trade of 40 to 50 megawatt. That will be the start for us. And India can, earn foreign currency by facilitating this power trade. That is another important and advantage for India. And this will be also a major diplomatic victory for India. And like the other tradable items, standardization is not required in the case of hydropower energy. And this will also attract more investments into the region in the green energy sectors, like ADB, World Bank, and other multilateral institutions could finance to the private companies. And another idea would be like currently the government-to-government investments happening between Nepal and India and Bangladesh, also same thing. And there could be the possibilities of the creation of the consortium between Nepal, India, and Bangladesh. The private sectors can come together, and some of the companies are already working for this initiative. That will be another good examples in our investment, let us say investment integration. So that will be very good, to enhance the cooperation, and ultimately that will help to integrate the regional cooperation. And I hope that the conference theme, I hope that it will help to achieve the goal of the theme as well. And the to take the prompted action to remove non-tariff barriers in the bilateral trade, is suggested by Ambassador Harshvardhan Singla study. There is already a robust trade infrastructure in the region for bilateral trade and regional trade. Adoption of the motor vehicle agreement under the BBIN framework would improve cross-border trade substantially. Last but not least, India needs to send a message to its regional partners, neighbors, that is keen on multilateralism or regionalism, by bringing changes in existing hydro energy export-import guidelines that were issued in 2018 and in 2021, which will encourage the bilateral energy trade. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunil ji, for sharing your perspective and how energy cooperation can boost the regional integration in our region.